Hello, I'm Tyler Bone.
And I'm Tyler Barrett, and together we will be covering the different aspects of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Could you imagine going to a beach covered in oil, or seeing a bird that can't fly because it's drenched in oil? Well, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill did just that. Today, Tyler and I will speak on the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. We will speak on the background information, causes and effects, economic and environmental impacts, and future preventions. To begin, we must know some background information regarding the biggest oil spill in history. As you can see by this picture here, it truly is the biggest oil spill ever in the history of the world. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill occurred in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. It is also commonly known as the Gulf of Mexico or BP oil spill. Here, you can see a picture of what the massive rig looked like before all the events occurred in 2010. The Deepwater Horizon was an ultra-deep water, dynamically positioned, column stabilized, semi-submersible mobile offshore drilling unit. The platform was located about 40 miles off the shore of Louisiana's coast. It was leased to BP for over $550 million and was able to drill to a depth of about 30,000 feet. Now that we have discussed some vital background information regarding the rig itself, we can move on to the cause of the great oil spill. An explosion caused the Gulf of Mexico oil spill. The reason why the rig exploded was due to faulty equipment that allowed natural gas accompanying oil to shoot up a well pipe. The two substances then had nowhere to go and it finally exploded and sank. Here, in this picture, you can see the rig on fire after the explosion. Furthermore, the platform sank, making it extremely hard and long while to stop the oil from draining into the sea. Even though there were multiple boats trying to tame the fire, it was nearly unstoppable. When the platform began to sink, the oil had nowhere to go but into the sea at an alarming rate. Even though there were numerous attempts to try and fix the leak, still about 5 million barrels of oil were released into the ocean, causing numerous environmental problems that Tyler will talk more about later. Not only did the oil spill cause a large impact on the environment, it also took a big toll on the economic impacts too. It is said that Louisiana alone, the revenue losses from fisheries were between $100 and $200 million. The Gulf region, where the oil spill took place, also took a huge economic impact. The Gulf region was taking in about $20 billion from tourism. After the oil spill, this amount decreased significantly. This picture here shows how much oil was spread around the Gulf region. In some of these darker shaded regions, oil was being dumped onto the beaches in large waves, one after another. So you can only imagine the economic impact that this oil caused in the United States. BP took full responsibility of all the costs. With such a large oil spill, one can only imagine how much money it would take to fix everything that occurred from the disaster. BP said that it was going to pay over $1.5 billion to fix and clean everything that happened due to the oil spill. Now I will hand it over to Tyler, who will talk on environmental impacts and more.
Now I will discuss the environmental effects of BP. The sea life felt most of the repercussions of the oil spill, killing over 8,000 turtles, birds, and mammals in just the span of 6 months, according to research done by Professor Ernesto Gutierrez Maravete, who has a PhD in biology, as seen here by the duck with oil all over him, the turtle with oil all over him, and the dolphin with oil all over him. Microscopic marine life also experienced a harsh impact. Research conducted by a group of scientists from the Oceanography Society have found that copepods, a type of microscopic crustacean, were found to suffer the greatest mortality rates of microscopic marine life. However, the increase in mortality rates were transient, allowing their rates to decrease within a couple of days after exposure to oil. Furthermore, the group of scientists discovered that all types of plankton were resistant to oil contamination and actually absorb and neutralize some of the toxins. Along with the oil spill came decreased predation in the Gulf of Mexico's food chain. The decrease in predation led to an increase in phytoplankton. Zooplankton was found to be the most resilient of the microscopic bacteria, being able to avoid direct contact with the oil, as shown here. Cleaning up the disaster took almost 3 years. In this effort, over 40,000 people were involved. More than 6,000 response vessels were shipped out to the site, and 17 protective areas were set up around beaches to prevent oil from creeping into the shoreline. In cleaning up, techniques were employed to lessen the amount of oil and natural gas in the water. Controlled burning is one of these techniques used to clean up the oil spill. Using boats to isolate an area of oil and then igniting the surface oil to finally get rid of it is how they got rid of surface oil, as shown by this diagram right here. Chemical dispersants were also used in the effort to clean up the mess. Two of the dispersants were called Corexit 9500 and Corexit E9527A, or deodorized kerosene. These dispersants did not actually get rid of any oil, but changed the chemical compositions of it so that part of the ocean may become habitable again. Over 1.3 million gallons of these dispersants were used to dilute the oil, as shown in this picture here. Another method used was to construct sand berms blocking the contaminated water from entering bays, wetlands west of the Mississippi River, and also the Chandelier Islands chain. All of these cleanup costs totaled up to about $1.43 billion. Prior to the oil spill, the liability cap for oil spills was only $75 million, meaning that the oil company only had to pay $75 million for the damages, no matter how severe. Since the oil spill, Democratic legislators tried to send a bill increasing the oil liability cap from $75 million to $10 billion. However, this was shut down right away, and the company paid $75 million in government fines, leaving the rest of the cost to claims from people who reported damages from oil or requested cleanup. It was a difficult and long process to completely stop the leaking oil from Deepwater Horizon. The first attempt to stop the blowout was called Top Kill, which consisted of injecting heavy drilling fluids like mud down into the blowout preventer, which ultimately failed. The next method used was called Junk Shot, which consisted of shooting debris like golf balls and shredded tires into the blowout preventer at high pressures, but it also failed. The final attempt to stop oil from polluting the ocean was by drilling relief wells and placing a cap on top of the blowout preventer. Relief wells are wells drilled to intersect an oil or gas well that has undergone a blowout. The blowout preventer, which is labeled here, is ultimately what failed on the Deepwater Horizon rig. This object is about 5 stories tall and is designed to quickly shut off the flow of oil or natural gas by squeezing, crushing, or shearing pipe if there is a sudden unexpected spike in pressure. Due to this disaster, scientists and engineers have started to redesign the preventer, hoping to improve it greatly. Finding alternatives to oil will reduce the amount of oil needed and also prevent any disasters like the Deepwater Horizon from happening. Some new ways to obtain energy are by using natural resources like water, solar, wind, and wind energy that replenish over time and do not cause as much harm to the environment. This diagram shows the U.S. energy consumption of 2010, where petroleum is used 37% and renewable energy is only at 8%. Overall, the Deepwater Horizon was a major problem affecting many aspects of sea life around the Gulf of Mexico, costing around $1.5 billion in damages and greatly harmed the environment.